Greetings, all. I am Tikisha Michelle of Education Inside Out, and I am so excited that you all are here with us today. Listen, I know you are used to seeing me with somebody else, maybe a Leo or a Dr. Ada, but not today. I told you all we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. So I'm really excited because today I have another guest. And I am going to let her introduce herself in just a moment. But listen, we met, I'm, gosh, maybe 5 years ago, I guess, if not a little bit more. We just because we have a commonality. And so we met online, I suspect, but then we wound up communicating, and then we did kind of a conference, intentional parenting, I believe is what it's called, what it was called. But you can go and find all of that. She's going to tell you all about herself, and then I'm also going to have her information in the description and in the gosh, everywhere I can potentially put her information so that you can be connected with her as well, because we're all about partnerships, right? And as you know, I'm going to tell you a couple of things. One, you already know about supporting, oh, you can't even see it, supporting school improvement goals through teacher efficacy and meaningful partnerships. This is a meaningful partnership, so get excited about it and check out my book on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, as many places as you could potentially find it. And because we talk about building community even in that book. And listen, don't forget, third Thursdays, right? Third Thursday. So third Thursdays are a big deal. I'll be doing third Thursdays, but I'm also going to come to you every Thursday. You're going to have something new or relatively new from Tikisha Michelle every Thursday. So I'm super excited that you're going to have some content that you're going to be able to apply to your everyday life, and you're going to be able to think on those things. All right. So it's going to all be for the sake of your evolution. So get excited about it. Listen, my guest today, I'm super excited to have Precious McKoy. Ooh, I wish I had some celebratory music right now. Because I'm so happy to have you. Listen, tell us a little bit about yourself, your organization, and then we'll get ready to press on from there.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Glad to be on. Thank you for inviting me. I already know that this is going to be a timely discussion that we're having. So it's important for me to share that first and foremost, I am a parent. I'm married to my wonderful husband, and I have two children. I have a son who's on his way to college. So we've gotten him all the way through grade school. And then I have a daughter who's 13 in eighth grade. So we're in a very neat spot right now as a family. And so I think that's why it's important to talk with you. Second to who I am, I do own a nonprofit mentoring organization called the Shield Mentor Program. I started this organization when my son was a baby in my arms. I knew that I needed a community of support as I was raising my son, and that has carried me throughout our entire time raising our two children. So now I sit in the classroom just to bring everything around nicely. I am professionally teaching business management. So just happy to connect with you guys and see what pops off as a conversation.
Oh my goodness, I'm super excited. Listen, when I saw that you were back in the classroom, I was like, look at her, look at her. She came and she joined us and helping in a different way, in a different
Yeah.
capacity. And listen, you know how you meet people, but then you don't really get to stay connected, but social media allows for the continued connection. And so we've had the opportunity, we've discussed where we've had the opportunity to just stay connected through social media, and we've celebrated each other over time. So it's really great when you get to make those connections. And then 5 years, I think we have not actually had a conversation besides the other day in
Yeah.
5 years, right?
Yeah.
Outside
Yeah.
of that last conference, that digital conference or virtual conference that we did. But you're always on my, because I remember, right? I remember the things that you've done and the connections that you were able to make over time. Super excited. And then, man, sending a baby off to college, that's Woo, you're like you're living my life. Like it's a recreation. I remember
Yes,
when
I'm
that was
so
my
proud.
life. So I love it. I love it. I'm super excited for you all, and I celebrate you for all that you've done to get them this far because that's an accomplishment, right? Because there's so many different things that could have happened along the way, and that's going to kind of get us into our conversation today. Y'all, again, social media, right? Following along social media. But let me go ahead and just preface this conversation with we know that parents as a whole want their children to be successful, right? We never really know about how, but oftentimes we say, yeah, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer. Oh, and you are going to maybe people who are more on the religious side or whatever, you're going to be the pastor or you're going to be a preacher. Those are some things that people say oftentimes, but they forget. You know what another thing is that people say? You're going to be the next president of the United States, right? That's a big deal. Like you're going to be the president. And then there's the things about the NFL, there's all the sports things. You're going to be great in sports. You're going to be a great performer, artist of some sort. So those are the different things that parents oftentimes, the big things, right? The overarching things, because that's all that people have talked about for so long for what children are going to become, who they're going to become. But I think oftentimes parents forget that there's so many other things that children can become. And I don't know if it's about keeping up with the Joneses or whatever it is that has been placed before us that's identified as success, right? What is success? And I want to take that and I want to spread because I can just really run with that. But today, do you mind if I share your post with the people?
I don't mind at all.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. So so I was reading, excuse me, this information. This is just another reconnect. So I was coming through Facebook and Precious posted, can you see it, Precious?
Yes.
Okay, so she's talking about how she took her daughter to open house and how she was kind of taken aback by this new policy that they had about a blazer. So a blazer is something to be achieved. Academic exemplary performance is a big deal at their school. And the opportunity to obtain this blazer is really a big deal. And then she goes on to say that they've actually changed the policy now, right? They've lowered the expectations. And her question is really, is this what we're doing? Like, all the kids should have an opportunity to be successful, but are we going to really lower the expectations for the children who have been working to accept the challenge that even the school put out? Right? So this is this post, and you can check it out. I don't know if it's I don't even remember. Is it world? Yes, anybody can see this post. So it's really a big deal. Do we risk losing the drive of our most motivated learners? I love this part. When they're surrounded by a system that no longer challenges or rewards their efforts. Man, y'all, as I was reading this post, I was like, yes, hold on to that. Do we risk losing the drive of our most motivated learners when they're surrounded by a system that no longer challenges or rewards their efforts? I promise. I was like, yeah, I wanted to just type into her comments. Yes, girl, yes.
We have to talk about it, right?
Yes, absolutely. We have to talk about it because then I even went on to read some of the comments, right? And that's where it gets a little sticky, y'all. So I've been in education, and if you've been following me, I just finished 30 years in education, right? My oldest child is 35 years old. Okay, understand that. And my daughter is 27. She's almost 27 years old. She doesn't want me to make her older, don't worry. So I've been doing this thing for a long time. And that is something that has been coming up the pipeline or down the pipeline for a long time. We keep making these changes. Do you remember? Oh, your kids are from well, maybe they're just outside of everybody gets a trophy. Are you
No, we've raised our children with that belief system for sure.
Oh, okay. Tell me about that.
Yes. So I do believe that the parents who are in my generation are raising children who are under the belief system that every child gets a trophy.
Mhm.
We've also grown up or we're raising our children where we have to protect them, so the car seats became a big thing where we're in car seats until our children are like 8 and a lot bigger than what we're used to. And all of those types of things. So I want to start this conversation by first and foremost saying that I absolutely love the school where my
Mhm.
children have been and where my daughter still attends. So our journey started with my son who is struggling academically, and we chose this particular school because it follows the Ryan Clark Academy model. And
Okay.
if you don't know anything about that model, I do encourage you to look it up. This allowed my son the freedom to learn in a space where he could be active. He was a hyperactive young boy, hard to sit down. He
Uh-huh.
learned by participation, and sometimes that would, be problematic for him. So this school really cultivated his learning in such a positive way. And I talk about this throughout the threads that it did motivate and inspire him to reach the goal of having the grades to actually wear that blazer. And I remember when my son had the opportunity to get his first blazer, I know what that meant for him. I stopped and asked him immediately, so how does that feel? Because I wanted him to connect with what he did on his own accord in order to get there. And as he connected with that, to continue to do so, which he actually did. So my son became a straight A student all through high school. He maintained straight A's, and he is an exceptionally brilliant young man who will be able to go off to college and do whatever he has in his mind to do. And I'm particularly excited about that because I know what the road was to get him there. Now, my daughter, and as you know, no two children are the same. She is a socialite. She enjoys making friends. She's still highly academic and she loves to compete with her older brother. And she knows that if she wants to reach his level of success, that there are certain things that she has to be able to do. And I think she's enjoyed being able to do that so much that this post actually stems from my daughter's reaction, not my reaction, but my daughter's reaction.
Okay. Okay.
Being in eighth grade, having certain expectations in the house, I must say it was a little unsettling to sit in a space where a leader made a comment that, not all students can reach this goal and not every student will make straight A's or be on the AB honor roll, which is understandable. That is a truth, right? Like we can't refute that sort of statement. But the question here again is how do we maintain expectations that encourages a rigor for those who can do it, right? Without, I guess, taking away their motivation and enthusiasm to reach those expectations. Because for my daughter, that has allowed her to perform a particular way academically. And when it felt like, well, anyone can stand here and wear the blazer, it minimized how she felt about her effort.
Wow. Yes. Yes. That the fact that you stated that this is her response, right? Because
Absolutely.
she's been the one doing the work. Now,
Mhm.
parents support. You laid foundations for your son, you laid foundations for your daughter, right? And
Mhm.
then they needed to respond or
Right.
manifest that which it was that you laid the foundation for. And they lived up to the expectation, right? They excelled,
Absolutely.
they fulfilled the qualifications
Mhm.
in order to wear that blazer.
Absolutely.
But we do know that, as she stated, everyone's not going. Everyone is doesn't live there. No matter my children, I told them you should practice math. You should study math. Math is not my subject. I have not ever said that it is. But boy, did they struggle in that space? No matter that I was like, no, we're going to open up a Khan Academy. No, you're going to get tutoring. You're going to have this and these things. You're all of the things necessary. For whatever reason, it wasn't, that wasn't for them.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't for me. It wasn't for my mom. Maybe it's a generational situation, but we know that
We
that
all have our gifts, right?
right, exactly. That's a perfect statement because we all have something that we can do or that we can do well,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so to say that, well, everyone's not going to be able to obtain this, everyone's not going to be able to obtain the opportunity to be on the honor roll or the dean's list. When you get outside of these spaces, these elementary and middle school spaces, the challenge is different. The expectations don't change just because, or the requirements rather, don't change because you can't. And there have been some times when they've said, okay, well, come to college and we'll remediate you. You're still paying the same thousands of dollars as the people who can, and you're struggling too. And some people who are able, they rise to the occasion and they make it, but some just don't. And
I
so,
think
go
the
ahead.
lesson here is that it's okay to struggle, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So we had our level of difficulty, disappointment, and we had to respond to what we saw our children's needs were at the time. And that is what allowed us to meet the expectation, right? But before we ever met that expectation, we fell short. And we had to figure out how to become a supportive unit around our children as well. So, for parents, I think it's important to really think about what is the environment at home that supports your child, whatever their need might be, right? So, we know we can ask for accommodations at school. We can ask for IEPs or 504s or whatever our children might need. And that's great. And in fact, we did pursue that as parents as well. But then we also went and looked at our home environment to ask ourselves, how are we supporting our child's learning? Is the TV off? Are we providing a balanced meal? I cut out red dyes because I knew that that made boys particularly hyperactive. Right. So it's just all these things that we might need to modify at home as well. And I think we commonly forget that. But I believe that because of the pandemic and all of us having to shelter in place and do at home learning, maybe we can call back to our memory some of those challenges that we might have observed on our own and had with our children and really think about, okay, how can I create structure at home to help my child? It is a sacrifice. I know because I did it, right? So you have to turn off your favorite show for a while. Make sure that your child gets, maybe a solid 30 minutes or hour of getting some work in, right? Or longer if you can handle doing that. But that is so important. And I think that oftentimes as parents, we feel like we're in a situation that's unbearable when we watch our children struggle, but they will struggle, right? School is a baseline. That's what it is. I tell my students that all the time in class. There's no such thing as failure. You are learning completely new information that likely no one has ever taken the time to really explain the level of detail that you can get in a classroom. And so it's going to take some effort on a student's part to really reach proficiency because that is the goal, right? That doesn't change because we lower expectations, right? It just doesn't.
So right. Oh my
so,
goodness, so right.
so if I'm in a workplace and I'm in construction and I need to nail something in, I can't decide that, oh, it is okay that the nail is crooked because I couldn't meet that expectation. It was difficult for me, right?
Talk about it.
I still have to put the nail in, use the proper mathematical equations to make sure the structure doesn't fall down. And guess what? If you're that person that shows up to work like that, you don't get to keep your job. So I have the luxury of teaching business management. And because that is my topic that I teach, I know how important it is that young people, they have to have a growth mindset. They have to be able to face challenges. They won't always be selected to be the top leader. They have to follow sometimes. And sometimes we win and sometimes we lose. So as an athlete, I learned that early on. And we have to be able to do all of this with grace. Just because something is this way this year does not mean it will be that way next year or next quarter or next semester or whatever the case might be.
But with that, what we have, you said something so powerful that when you show up to work, you're not going to be able to keep that job just because you were unable to fulfill the task. And what I want to encourage parents to be aware of is that while you have great expectations for your children, and again, she said all of the things that they did, everything that they put in place, the sacrifices that they as parents made to ensure the success of their children, the possibility of one or both of their children not obtaining that blazer still existed, right? But they kept pushing. And when it manifested, she did a double back and she said, how does that make you feel? Ultimately, she gave him, it kind of put some responsibility back on him. And he got to own the success. Because I did these things, because I adhered to the expectations of my parents, I have now achieved this success that I wanted to. And maybe I don't know if I wanted to. My parents wanted me to, for sure. They wanted me to be proficient. My teachers wanted me to, and this is at least, right? Because proficiency is at least proficient. The blazer says I excelled. It says I met the expectation and I exceeded the expectation. And so parents, what I want to encourage you is to keep pushing no matter what. Does that mean change the policies so that, for me, yep, my mom could have gone in and she could have said, look, my child is just not going to be good in math. I'm not good in math. So-and-so not good in math. I need for y'all to go ahead and change this up so that she can get an award for being at least as good as she is in math. What would that say to engineers? What would that say to the people that figured out how to build a bigger or better airplane or vehicle or the electric vehicles? What would that have said to them? Don't worry about being better. Don't worry about thinking in a more advanced state. It's okay to be right here. Guess who will never build an electric vehicle? That will be me. It's not for me to do that. Can I teach and train others and give them directions and paths to go down so that they can exceed the expectation? Absolutely. I'm going to play my part. As a teacher, I'm going to play my part as an encouraging community member, right? Just like Precious and her husband played the part or their role as parents, and their children had to respond and be children and students that excelled. Maybe your child's not going to get a blazer. Maybe not. Maybe your child won't be on the honor. Can I tell you, there was a time when I was in elementary school, right? I'm probably in about maybe the 5th or 6th grade. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I should get on the honor roll. They should call my name because we never knew whose name they were going to call to get the certificates and the awards, right? And so I remember sitting there and I'm like, I'm really good at, definitely not math. I'm really good at social studies. I do this and that. And I read really well. I did really well on my test. And I'm like, they should call my name. But then as I sat there and they didn't call my name, and then I'm sad, right? They didn't call my name. But me, the human that I am, began to replay, well, there was that time that I decided to watch television instead of do the reading for that test. I probably could have gotten a better grade on that test than I did. Oh, yeah, I remember that time when I didn't actually study for, whatever. I'm good, but I probably could have been better. So I process that even, and kids, so I've talked to children who are there just saying, I didn't get the blah, blah, I didn't win, I didn't do this. And so I've pulled children aside over time and, what happened? Why do you think you didn't get that? What did you do? Did you do all of the things? Did you not do all of the things? And they're aware. They can speak to the fact that they did not do A and C. They did B. They did B really well, but they skipped a little bit of A and they just didn't do any of C. But their parents have told them, you're great. But did you sit there and ensure that they did A, B, and C to an exemplary level? So, parents, I want to encourage you to make sure you sit in the game with them. And if they're going to, I don't know if y'all remember this, they always talk about how Dr. King said, if you're going to be a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper, right? I don't wear Jimmy Choos because it's just not what I do. I'm not arrived at the level of purchasing Jimmy Choos, but I'm sure people who wear them don't want to walk down a street that's cluttered. So we still need the people who are going to be the street sweepers. And that's like an extreme. But you might, whatever part you play on whatever team you happen to be on, whether it's an academic team, an athletic team, a team that has anything to do with artistics, maybe you're the person who simply selects the paper or purchases the best balls, or the person who tells the team where they're going to have to go. Maybe that's your part. Maybe that's your skill set. And parents, at some point, we have to go, you know what? Right now, this is where my child is. I'm going to do the work. Go ahead.
Reminds me of a moment, even with my son, where, so it's interesting. You said you didn't know if they would call your name and you built up this expectation, but you were a child, so you didn't understand what the parameters were. But as parents, we absolutely already know what's required because we've already been to school. We also know, as you called out earlier, what our skill set is. So then we know where we're resourced and where we're not resourced. Of course, we can get tutors when that's something that we're particularly struggling with. But I remember with my son in particular, we would know if he would be receiving an award or not because the principal would give us a heads up to be at the rally in order to observe our children receiving an award or not. And I will never forget this particular time. I knew my son was not getting anything, but you know what? I went and I sat there. And you know what? I did not spend not 1 ounce of my time allowing him to be disappointed because I already knew the tremendous amount of work that he was putting into his schoolwork. So here's the thing, right? We can expect schools to reward our children, but are you rewarding your child? Right? Like what are you doing at home?
Talk about it. Please talk about it.
If you're attaching your treatment of your child to how they're performing in the classroom, well, that could be problematic, right?
Absolutely.
And stressful, and creating a hardship for your child to understand what's required in order to perform better. So one of the things that I always protected with my son was his confidence level. I remember when he was in elementary school, didn't know one thing about D's or F's, but he was struggling in reading. And I'm not ashamed to say that he made really poor grades when it came to reading. And I would ask him, well, how'd you do on the spelling test? He's like, I did good. And I went, oh, okay. We'll see. Now, as a mother, I did feel it was promising that if he felt he did good, he absolutely did good, right? Then I would receive the report cards and I would see, oh man, he's really struggling. Not once did I go to my child and suggest to him that he can't do something.
Right.
And I didn't even really explain to him that that was a low grade.
Okay.
What I did was work with him to realize that here's where we are today, right? But can you get a C? Can you get a B, right? What can we do here to level up? Because that's the goal. So I really believe that we have to really draw a line between what schools need to do and what we're doing at home to support our children. No, every child is not a high flyer or high achiever, and that's fine. if we can really try to support our children really from day one, right? So we have a long journey through school. Kindergarten through 12th grade is a long time of supporting your child, providing those resources, and making sure that they have what they need in order to be successful. And if you have more than one child, I know how that is as well, especially when they're in different grade levels and studying various topics and things like that. But I'm here to encourage parents to stick with it, trust the process, and most importantly, because the signal for me was, oh, so we're going to give up on our children. That was the signal for me. And it could have been the signal for the children as well who were in there.
Mhm.
Even within themselves being relieved and feeling like, oh, so I don't have to do that anymore. Shoo, right? And now do we do our best is the question at hand, right? So if we lower those expectations, then our data may start to shift in a way that shows lower performance because the expectation isn't there, the push isn't there, the motivation, the drive isn't there to help them show us what they know. And commonly, children will surprise you in terms of what they actually know and what they can actually do.
Mhm.
That will
Mhm.
blow your mind away. And
Absolutely.
yes, it can be like a light switch. One minute the child couldn't do something, next minute, how some way, somehow, they can be an expert at something.
Mhm.
Um, and I,
Mhm.
I say this as someone who also runs a robotics team with young people, and I'm always amazed at their brilliant minds, what they can imagine, but also beyond their imagination, how they can get something to work.
Right.
It's amazing. You can't make this stuff up, right?
I know.
And so we need to really have higher expectations. That's the bottom line.
Absolutely.
Because our young people are more than capable to show us something that we didn't even have in mind. So forget the blazer. What if there's something else, right?
Right.
So I'm trying to get a blazer. However, we have now discovered that this is what you're really, really good at,
Right. Right.
right? And
Absolutely.
that's the benefit of having something tangible there that we think is the goal. Speaking of those cliche things, reach for the moon, you'll fall among the stars,
Mhm.
right?
Right. Right. Right.
So
Absolutely.
that's all we're doing.
I love it. I love it. Listen, we can talk for forever because you hear her. She talks along the same lines that I talk along, and I love it. I love it. She has shared so much information to empower parents, right? So on your evolution, as you continue to grow towards ensuring the success of your children and even teachers, as you work in classrooms to ensure the success of children, and essential personnel, essential partners in education, think on the things that we've just discussed today, right? They are valuable, they're meaningful, they are of good report. They come from places um, that we're full aware of. We've had these experiences, and there's so many more experiences that could have been shared with you today. And I think Precious and I are probably going to have more conversations here to share with you because I absolutely love chatting with her. But
Awesome.
listen, you all, we want to thank you all for joining us, and just take a moment and just sit back and think on, what have I done for my children, with the school, at the school, versus a chastisement of the school and your child's teachers? What have you done at home to ensure the success of your children at school, right? So think about that. Think about, do we really want to change whether or not children rise to the occasion? What do we want the children to achieve? Even the children who may not be able to excel or exceed in one area, what are we going to do to encourage them to exceed in the spaces that they can be successful in? Think about that. Listen, we're going to talk to y'all again really soon. Just remember, I am Tikisha Michelle of Education Inside Out. All of the ways to contact me, like at eduinsideout.org, or it's me, Tikisha Michelle.com. you can find out all of the information about me. You can find out more about Precious McKoy and Shield. Tell me, Shield
Mentor program.
mentoring program. You're going to have all of the information in the description to find out how to contact us so that you can get connected and that you can become a person who is better able to ensure the success of children. Thank you so much, Precious, for joining me today.
You're welcome.
And we look forward to talking to you again very, very soon. You all enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.